the Maghrib 4. Welcome back for more mud, sweat and gears from the Maghrib 400. The final loop on the Maghrib 400 with Neil Woolrich and Kenny Scholthammer in control of proceedings in the factory Mitsubishi Pajero. They led overall and were out in front in the production vehicle category. Behind the Mitsubishi, there had been a change in the pecking order in the special vehicle category with Mark Corbett and Juan Moore running at the front of the field and eyeing a second successive victory. Corbett and Moore were ahead of Cliff Barker and Vic Camphor on the road, but on corrected time, the Quadrishaw Land Rover was second overall. Barker and Camphor were about 4 minutes adrift of Woolrich and Scholthammer, with control points along the route keeping track of competitors.
They haven't really spread out that much.
Not yet out of the picture in both the overall and special vehicle stakes were Jackie Joubert and Donnie Smith in the Jojo Tanks VW Beetle Volvo 4x4, while Brandon Harkness and Tom Smith were steadily moving up the field in the Finstruct Raceco. Like his big mate Bevan Bertholdt, young Harkness has off-road racing in his blood and is an up-and-coming talent trying to follow in the footsteps of Father Arthur, who was a household name in years gone by. Also going well was Shamir Variauer and mechanic Zahir Bodhanya, who was admirably coping with the co-driver's duties. Behind them, Pete Haasbroek and Christo Bosch had taken control of Class D in a Toyota Land Cruiser. The Freiburg farmers were looking at a possible top 5 finish and had the satisfaction of running ahead of the factory Castrol Toyota Land Cruiser of close friend Arpi Reinicke and Robin Houghton, who were pushing hard to make up for lost time via their steering wheel and other woes. The Quadrishaw Land Rover pair of Cliff Barker and Vic Camphor had by now realized they were only 4 minutes behind overall leaders Neil Woolrich and Kenny Scholthammer, who were trying to up their pace. Enzo Kuhn and Francois Jourdan were also trying to get a move on, but the Mitsubishi Colt was to lose a front wheel 30 kilometers from the finish. Behind the Mitsubishi Colt, the Castrol Toyota Hilux of Chris and Andrew Birkin was back in front in Class E and pulling away from Jean-Pierre Joubert and Errol Hodgson in their Toyota Hilux. For track star Kenil de Villiers, the bush and the dirt roads of Northwest Province were a far cry from AA Kyalami and other race circuits, but he and Pete Swanepoel were still going strong. The pair were running 5th in Class D in a Nissan double cab, and while de Villiers must have been happy with proceedings, it had been a disappointing event for reigning special vehicle champions Franz Czepek Sr. and Jr. The Epson V Motors Chenoweth ran into problems on the time trial, with the pair having to fight a rearguard action. There were no such problems for veteran Giel Nel, who was again at the front of the Class B field in the single-seater Truggy, and consistency has made him a serious contender for this year's special vehicle title. Into the final stretch, and just what the doctor ordered for Mitsubishi Pajero pair Neil Woolrich and Kenny Scholthammer. They were headed for their 3rd win of the season in the production vehicle category, and with it, tightened their hold on the championship. It was another thoroughly professional display from the pair, while behind them, Mark Corbett and Juan Moore were showing all the exuberance of youth. The youngsters were letting it all hang out, with Corbett and Moore heading for their 2nd special vehicle category win in 2 races. They won the Toyota 1000 Desert Race, and back-to-back wins rocketed them up the championship standings. Corbett and Moore were still ahead of Cliff Barker and Vic Camphor on the road, but on corrected time were running 3rd overall behind Woolrich and Scholthammer and the Quadrishaw Land Rover. For Barker and Camphor, it was their best performance of the season and a major boost for the team. Behind the Land Rover, the steady Shamir Variauer and stand-in co-driver Zahir Bodhanya were 4th on the road, but corrected time saw them fall behind the Jojo Tanks pair of Jackie Joubert and Donnie Smith in the special vehicle class. Freiburg farmers Pete Haasbroek and Christo Smith finished the race with the Toyota Land Cruiser losing 4-wheel drive. For the last 80 kilometers, the pair ran with front-wheel traction only, but completely dominated Class D. Toyota picked up another class win in Class E, with Chris and Andrew Birkin coming in ahead of Jean-Pierre Joubert and Errol Hodgson in another Toyota Hilux. Giel Nel had matters all his own way in Class B, with another fine performance keeping alive his championship hopes, with the reliable Truggy hardly missing a beat. A steady performance saw Hein Hobler and Charles Volmerans pick up 3rd place in Class D for Nissan, with the pair finishing behind the Mitsubishi Colt of Nars LaRue and Henny Terstegen. There were around 6 minutes separating the Nissan and the Colt, but down in Class B, the gap was a little wider, with Marius and Tracy van Vuren around 8 minutes behind winner Giel Nel. at the finish. All that remained was for Neil Woolrich and Kenny Scholthammer to put the finishing touches to what in the end was a comfortable win. It was a virtually trouble-free run for the Mitsubishi Pajero crew, and with just 3 events remaining, they hold most of the cards in the championship. The final gap between Woolrich and Scholthammer and the Barker Camper Land Rover was just on 4 minutes. To the victors go the spoils, and for the 2 former bikers, the winner's champagne is starting to get to be a bit of a habit.
We had one puncher about 100 kilometers out. You know, we started third this morning and we caught up to the space frame in front of us, but the dust was horrendous trying to get past. And at about 80 kilometer point, we pulled up right next to him at a Marshall point and hooted like anything to try and get past him, but we couldn't get past. And then I think in his dust and possibly being a bit over anxious, we clipped a rock on the right front and punctured a wheel. I think we changed it in record time. Must be one of the quickest we've ever changed. And from then on, yeah, no problems. Just kept it all together. Very, very fast race, but very exciting. A lot of concentration because of the dust and, you know, lurkers, rocks all over the place. So a hell of a lot of concentration, but the car went fantastically, and we're glad to be here first. Hopefully we've won. I'm sure we have. And with Nielsen not finishing, it definitely gives us a bit of more of a cushion in the championship, which is what Mitsubishi is looking for at the end of the day.
In the special vehicle category, Mark Corbett and Juan Moore struck a blow for the younger brigade, and there were thumbs up from the pair as they crossed the line to chalk up back-to-back wins.
Well, we had an awesome day's racing, and this is the 2nd win in a row for us after the desert, which is great.
Cliff Barker and Vic Camphor are a little longer in the tooth than Mark Corbett and Juan Moore, but for the Quadrashore Land Rover crew, the McRib 400 signalled a welcome return to form. There was plenty of light-hearted banter between the crews, with Barker delighted at being back on the podium at the end of an event.
It's nice to at least finish well up for a change. I think it's been since last year's desert race. We finished 2nd in production, so it would have been nice to win, but yeah, it's better than a non-finish.
Although classified behind Jackie Joubert and Donnie Smith in the special vehicle category, there were welcome points for championship leader Shamir Variawa.
At one stage I think we were lying 2nd or 3rd overall and closing, and then we got a back puncher, a rear tire burst on us, so eventually we got the tire changed after 20 minutes because the jack couldn't jack up. It broke on us, and ever since then we were riding flat out to catch Mark Corbett, but obviously the dust posed a problem to us in passing cars, but that's it, clean run.
Overall victory and production vehicle honours to Neil Woolrich and Kenny Scholthammer, with Mark Corbett and Juan Moore taking the special vehicle honours. In the top 12, there was an even split between production and special vehicles, with championship issues delicately poised. Among the classes, there were wins for Corbett and Moore and Giel Nel in the special vehicle categories, with the Haasbroek-Bosch combination, the Birkin brothers, and the Woolrich-Scholthammer team taking class honours among the production vehicle brigade. And those were all the mud, sweat and gears of the McRib 400.